Hi guys, my name is Robin and I'm one of the talking heads behind NZPocketGuide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. Today, I thought I'd take a little bit of time with you guys to clear up some of the confusions following the latest New Zealand government announcement that the New Zealand borders are going to be reopening on the 30th of April 2022 to all fully vaccinated travelers. So first up, the first thing I would like to point out is that if you do not know what I'm talking about right now, first, what are you doing on this video? But you may want to check out the video just right above, which goes over the full announcement, all the key takeaways, and I also play the full announcement so you can get the information from the source. Now that you are all caught up, and I hope that you pause the video while doing that, we can go over some of the key points that are, getting some confusions. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is that when Mr. Chris Hipkins, which is the person talking during the announcement, and he is the COVID-19 response minister, says that all fully vaccinated individuals will be able to travel to New Zealand from the 30th of April 2022 onward, he also states that the reopening will be staged over time. Now, what does that mean? Well, that could mean a lot of different things. That could mean that a selected amount of countries will be allowed to come to New Zealand gradually over time, and not all travelers are going to be able to come straight away. That could mean that different restrictions will apply and will be gradually eased throughout time, or that could mean a lot of other different things. There is absolutely no information on what that will mean, but that does clearly mean that not all travelers are going to be able to come to New Zealand all in one go. So that's the first thing that I would like to point out. The second thing that I would like to point out is that restrictions will still be in place when people are going to be able to come and travel to New Zealand post 30th of April 2022. And here's the list of the restrictions that were stated during the conference. The first restriction is that a negative pre-departure test will be needed. The second restriction is that a proof of being fully vaccinated will be needed. And now to talk about the different vaccines accepted in New Zealand, there is no official New Zealand government list of vaccines that are going to be accepted. The New Zealand government website currently just points out to a different website listing all the vaccines which are available around the world and states that vaccines which are accepted by at least one government will be accepted. This is a very fuzzy language, and I really don't think that we should take that verbatim, and I think that we should wait for a full list provided by the New Zealand government. This will just avoid us jumping the guns for no reason. One of the things that we can kind of assume is that, well, the Pfizer vaccine will be accepted, as this has been the vaccine of choice for the New Zealand government. Also, last month, the New Zealand government has certified the Moderna, AstraZeneca and Janssen vaccine for its border workers that needed to be vaccinated but did not have access to the Pfizer vaccine. So those three vaccines may be also vaccines that are going to be certified quite quickly or allowed in New Zealand quite quickly or very early on when getting travelers in. But again, there is no official list, and as soon as there's going to be an official list, we will obviously post a video, so you may want to hit subscribe, and while you're at it, you may want to hit the like button to thank us for all our hard work. Moving on to the next requirement, the passenger will have to do a declaration of their travel history, and they're going to need to do a day 01 test on arrival. The next requirement, though, is more like the biggest sticking point and the biggest confusion creator during this whole announcement, and that there is a requirement to self-isolate for 7 days on arrival. Now, that kind of clear up the way for tourists, right? Someone that want to come to New Zealand for a 2 weeks holiday is not going to want to stay isolated in New Zealand, in a New Zealand hotel for 7 days. Now, this self-isolation is going to be on an honesty base. Basically, there is not going to be a strong enforcement of that. The New Zealand government is probably going to check regularly with those people, and obviously it will be illegal to dodge this, but there is not going to be a MIQ, so a managed isolation quarantine, like there currently is. It's basically a way to break up the managed isolation quarantine system, which has been run by the New Zealand government at great expense, and provide a more softer way to require people to quarantine themselves or isolate themselves. So this will still be in place post 30th of April 2022, and that's one thing which is extremely important to keep in mind. If you are coming to New Zealand just for a holiday and you want to come post the 30th of April 2022, you will be able to. However, you will have to self-isolate in a hotel room for 7 days before being allowed in the community. And by the way, before being allowed in the community, the last requirement is that you will need to get a negative test before entering the community. Now, a journalist did point out that basically that was still kicking tourists out of the country for an extended period of time, and here's what the minister had to respond.
Received under these arrangements, it's unlikely that international tourists will even come back after April 30 if they have to do a week of self-isolation. So you've effectively kicked international tourism down the road for more than 6 months, haven't you?
Not necessarily, but I think it depends how long the self-isolation's requirements. I mean, self-isolation requirement is going to have an impact on tourism. There's no question about that. So we will only have that self-isolation requirement in place for as long as the public health situation and the public health justifies that. And we don't have a timetable on that because that's going to depend on the nature and the shape of the outbreak from this point onwards. I'll come over in the far corner.
So this clearly means that there is no roadmap, and that's basically a politician here dodging a question, but there is no clear roadmap on when those requirements are going to be lifted. So that means that it's probably going to take quite a while until all those requirements are going to be lifted, and it's probably going to be extremely gradual and will depend on the country of origin of travelers, for instance, and other factors such as that. So this means that if you are travelers wanting to come as a tourist in New Zealand, you still have heavy requirements to deal with even post 30th of April 2022. However, if you're coming to visit friends and family and you are planning to stay in New Zealand for an extended period of time, maybe a couple of months, maybe 3 months, then that may be worth it for you to endure this self-isolation before being able to enter the community. So it is going to be more an open door to longer term travelers at the beginning, and then it's going to slowly be a gradual ease of those restrictions as we move forward in time throughout 2022, allowing more tourists to come in the country. So our timetable in thinking when will actually tourists be able to come to New Zealand with ease is not going to be until probably August and September 2022 at the earliest, because it's going to need some time for travelers to be able to adapt. So for the New Zealand government to be able to adapt to the amount of COVID-19 that's going to come into the country, as New Zealand has lived basically COVID-free. I mean, it's not really COVID-free, but we have contained the outbreaks very, very well during all the years. So we don't necessarily have the best process in place to manage full-blown outbreaks. So I hope that this helped clear out some of the confusion. I hope that it helped you guys and girls understand a little bit more what this announcement actually means, and that it's basically not a free-for-all for any travelers wanting to come to New Zealand. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Trust us, we really want travelers to come back to New Zealand. We run a New Zealand travel guide. We literally rely on international travelers coming in the country and enjoying what New Zealand has to offer. So it obviously hurt us both morally and financially for not having you guys coming to the country. So really, we want you guys to come as soon as possible, and we have our fingers crossed for you guys to be able to come and visit New Zealand as soon as possible. If you think that this video was useful, maybe you want to subscribe to the channel for, getting up to date to all the New Zealand travel restrictions. You may also want to check out more of the videos that we're doing. There is a lot of things to do in New Zealand and plenty of videos relating to that. You may also want to hit the like button to say thank you to all the hard work, and if you can afford it, you may want to check out our Patreon. We have a lot of really awesome perks for people that choose to financially support us, and there's even a perk that allows you one-on-one discussion with us, which may be really helpful if you are currently planning a trip to New Zealand. Anyway, check it out and see if you can afford to support us doing awesome work to help you plan your trip to New Zealand. If you can't, that's absolutely okay. Keep on traveling awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.